Hey yo, Mark here for Mark's Max Muscle. And it's yet again time for the challenge round. Welcome to the challenge round. Here's the breakdown. The first competitor, standing 5 feet 11 inches, weighing 290 pounds, Nasser El Sanfati. And his opponent, standing 5 feet 10 inches, weighing 280 pounds, Marcus Ruhl. Today's challenge round is brought to you by The Greatest One. And we begin with the front relaxed. Right away, I'm excited about this contest. The last few challenge rounds have been pretty much blowouts. And this one is it's going to be close. Structurally speaking, I like Marcus Ruhl a little bit better. His shoulders are a little bit more pronounced here. Even though, of course, both guys are known for having some of the greatest delt development in the history of bodybuilding. So, like I said, it's close. But as far as the structure is concerned, I like Ruhl. But then when I look at the waist, it's undeniable that Nasser is scoring ahead in this one as far as the aesthetics is concerned. And I believe that Marcus is scoring slightly ahead in the arm department. But in my humbled opinion, Nasser's edging out a little bit of a victory here in the leg department. But having said that, overall, I'm going to just edge out a victory for Nasser on this one. Well, let's dive right into the front double bicep. And once again, structurally speaking, both these men are very similar. And I will say, this one is very close, but I'm going to have to go with Nasser once again. Now, the leg development of Nasser, I believe, is a little bit better. And as far as the waist is concerned, I don't think Ruhl can compete with big Nasser. For a huge guy, Nasser really did have a small waist. Now, as far as the arms are concerned, I'm actually going with Ruhl on this one. Nasser's arms are so huge, just enormous. And I'm no expert on this, so don't quote me on this, but it just appears that he has some sort of sight enhancement oil, whereas Marcus Ruhl's arms are really a well-developed bicep and tricep. But I believe Nasser is taking this overall. As I said, the waistline is much more aesthetically pleasing. So 2-0 for big Nasser El Sanfati. Here in the front lat spread, and I'm actually surprised, but I'm going to score Marcus Ruhl ahead of big Nasser in this one. Believe it or not, actually quite surprised about this. Nasser possesses a fairly good front lat spread, to say the very least, and I will say the lat itself is more full than Marcus Ruhl, but I believe the overall package of Ruhl that Ruhl presents in this pose is edging out a little bit of a victory. So let's head into the next pose. This is, of course, the classic side tricep pose. And time after time, these men are scoring quite close to each other. I believe this one is a little bit more prominent in my view, that Nasser is scoring ahead. I do like the way that Marcus Ruhl is displaying his far arm in this pose, but I just think Nasser's waistline and his actual chest itself is just too much for Marcus. So there's another one for Nasser. Although I will take this time and say Nasser is scoring pretty far ahead of Ruhl at this point in time. But in points alone, because every pose, it seems, has been very close and honestly could have went either way. So depending on who's judging this one, it honestly could go either way, and I would have no argument. But having said that, Nasser notches another point up here in this contest. I believe it's going to be a similar result here in the side chest pose. At first glance, I will say, and my eyes are just drawn at that massive bicep of Marcus Ruhl. But as I said, the total package of Nasser Al-Somebody, I think, is just a little bit better. He has more of a better proportions as far as the tricep and bicep. And I think if you really look at the chest, I believe Nasser's chest is a little bit thicker and fuller. Although, as I said, at first glance, Marcus does look very impressive. But in a detailed look and overview, Nasser seems like he's in a lot better condition. He's much more vascular, and the waistline, I think, proves overall that I cannot in good conscience award Marcus Ruhl with the side chest pose. So once again, Nasser Al-Somebody places ahead of Ruhl. As these gentlemen turn around to display their back, it's evident to me that if Marcus Ruhl at least doesn't win this competition, he's definitely saving some face here. Marcus Ruhl is absolutely dominating Nasser in this pose. I believe he's actually dominating him more so than Nasser beat Marcus in any of the previous poses. So I'm definitely going to take that into consideration while making my final decision. Because like I said, Nasser has been winning just by a hair in each pose. So in points alone. So having said that, depending on how the rest of this competition goes, it's still anybody's contest at this point. And I think this is the pose. This will probably be the very pose that decides the winner of this competition. Had it went the way of the rear lat spread, I believe Marcus Ruhl may have edged out a victory, perhaps, depending on the way the last couple of poses goes. But it's plain to see here in the rear double bicep, and Nasser somehow developed a very impressive back, to say the very least. This is probably an earlier picture of Nasser Al-Somebody. Of course, in the challenge round, free to pick any picture of any time in the competitor's career. So it was a heck of a battle, to say the very least. These two behemoths going at it. But I think this is an equal domination here in the rear double bicep as it was in the rear lat, with Marcus dominating over Nasser. But having said that, let's check out a most muscular pose from these two behemoths. Wow. Now, I will say I am an aesthetic guy. I prefer an aesthetic bodybuilder. But when it comes to the most muscular, this to me is aesthetic. These two creatures with all due respect, these two behemoths. This is two of the greatest, most musculars of all time. And I am scoring Nasser slightly ahead of this one. And it seems to be the story of this competition. And without a doubt, Marcus Ruhl will be invited back to try his hand once again at the challenge round. And big Nasser El Somebody will undoubtedly advance to the gladiator round. But just for the heck of it, let's check out one more most muscular. This most muscular, of course, is just a formality, as Nasser El Somebody has this one in the bag. But I think in this one, we're actually going to go with Marcus Ruhl. I appreciate the striations in the chest here a little bit more, even though I will say Nasser probably has the edge as far as the thickness goes in the pecs. In the delts, it's close here. I will be honest here. I would go with Nasser, but as this is a most muscular, I think the domination in the bicep region is more than enough to edge out Marcus' victory, to once again save a little bit of face here in this competition, and will be undoubtedly be welcome back to try his hand once again at the challenge round. Here's your winner, Nasser El Somebody. Well, that about does it for that one. As always, let me know in the comments section below if you have another interesting pairing for an upcoming challenge round match. Special thanks once again goes to the Great One for this unbelievable dream match of Nasser El Somebody versus Marcus Ruhl. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hit like and subscribe if you did. And that's it for now. This is Mark for Mark's Max Muscle.